I got stuck behind a funeral procession.
I heard.
I like that shirt. Thank you very much.
Now, in Virginia, you're supposed to get out of the car, right?
Well, I don't know what was going on, but it lasted for miles. And so I think we can all only hope one day to be this popular as this person and as liked, to have that many people driving along on the road in one line, just, say goodbye.
But
it's a bit morbid, sorry.
So you didn't you just got here, right?
What's that?
You made your way here, you're here, we're happy to have you.
I literally just parked and ran over here to say hi to all you. So thank you all for coming out. Hey, I love your shirt too. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. So, what's that? I like that even better.
Your dad works
for us.
Oh, nice.
That's nice.
Is your dad a good employee? Does your dad show up on time?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Do you know his dad?
I know his dad. Now I know.
I know you're hiring people, bro. You got jobs?
Left
you got
and right.
jobs?
Left and right. Yeah, does anyone want to work in racing?
Does anybody want a job in NASCAR? Please go on LinkedIn and find Parker Kligerman. So, for those of you that are new, there's some new fans here.
Yep.
Can you give them the 60-second Parker Kligerman story? How do you tell your story?
Oh, 60 seconds?
In the elevator.
It's like the TikTok version?
Yeah. Give me the TikTok Parker Kligerman story.
Saw racing on TV when I was younger, decided I want to be doing that.
Then, well, hold on. Younger or younger
like 9
baby?
years old. Like 9 years old.
All right.
Saw it on TV and I was like, wait a second, I want to do that one day. 4 years later, I started go-karting, moved my way up through the ranks. Yeah, go-karting, woo! Then I did open wheel, got to NASCAR, and have bounced around, done TV for many years, as many of you know. I became a well-known weatherman meme, touching the ground when it's wet, as many people tag me whenever it's raining, as last night. And eventually got this full-time ride with Big Machine Racing and Spike Course to go after an Xfinity Series championship, and right now we sit 12th in points, but we could be a little better if we didn't have a mechanical failure.
There you go. And that is the true Hollywood story, Parker. Now, what's very interesting is you are the only person I've ever met from Connecticut.
Really?
You are the only one. So you are my experience of Connecticut. Anybody from Connecticut?
Yeah.
Woo! How do you describe Connecticut people? What is it? What's racing like in Connecticut? Because I'm from the Midwest, right? So you know Midwest drivers.
Yeah.
You're it. You're the only.
You're in the way.
Yeah. We're in the way, man.
Yeah. We're fast.
What's the scene like there?
Well, I mean, we've got the reigning NASCAR Cup Series champion, Joe Logano.
Boom.
Ryan Preece, Connecticut, has won races. Myself, Connecticut, won races. Yeah. We're the fastest.
So there's a scene.
There's a scene, and we just win. That's
nice.
It's the end of it. Just winners come from Connecticut. There's two types of Connecticut. Or two sections. There's New York, Connecticut, which is down near New York City, and then the rest is Boston. And that's your two sports teams, because we don't have any sports teams. So you're either the Yankees or the Red Sox, Giants or the Patriots. I mean, there's some Jet fans, but I mean, they're insane.
It's the whole thing.
So, yeah, the Mets fans are crazy too. I don't understand.
Now, this little guy, have you ever seen the movie Finding Nemo? You know the part, just keep swimming, like don't give up, So that is how I would describe, Parker, your legacy, because there were so many moments probably where you could have said, I'm exhausted, I'm doing part-time here, I'm doing part-time there. You are the grinded out king, man, and it paid off. Was there moments though where you were like, I'm exhausted, this is so hard?
Definitely. So, for those that don't know, obviously I was doing part-time racing, the TV thing, had quite a mixed up schedule, sometimes doing it all at once, driving all 3 series, doing TV, and it was tiring. And at the end of 2019, I'd been pretty successful, had won races, but just wasn't getting the opportunities. Into 2020, I had a cup ride that went away, and then I had my Truck Series team out of Abington, Virginia, decide they were going to shut down.
And you're just going, all this hard work.
Well, I just felt like at that point it was like the writing was on the wall, right? Like the sport was deciding for me to be done. And then by that, Henderson Motorsports called me 4 months later and said, you know what? We changed our mind. We want to go back racing. Do you want to come do it? And I was sitting around doing nothing, and said, well, that sounds better than nothing, so let's do that. From that day onward, we just had a crazy, accession in terms of performance to winning at Mid-Ohio last year, and everything I hopped in from that point onwards, it just felt like I could do no wrong. And then got this opportunity at Big Machine Racing, and it's been really cool. The coolest thing, and I think I tweeted this the other day, because there's so many drivers here who, they come through the ranks and you think you just become so consumed by racing and it's all you know, and you're so, up close to it, that you kind of lose your perspective. I got forced to have a lot of perspective on this sport.
Well, that's what's scary though, is imagine being in your shoes and then somebody gives you the idea that maybe Penske, maybe you could be at Penske. Well, that kind of happened to you.
Yeah, no, it's crazy, but my point where I was going with this is, so many drivers don't ever talk about this, and I tweeted it, and I said, it's so cool, so damn cool, getting to wake up every day and know your sole objective is to figure out how to be faster than your last race, the day before, and the last hour before that. Because
That's a dream job.
it's all you got to do, right? That's our whole job as race car drivers, is to figure out how to be faster than we were a second ago. And that's it. And so I was like, that's a damn cool thing. And, you know, I don't know how long it'll last or how successful it'll be, but I have a lot of confidence that we can be successful. And I think that's a mentality that we don't put out there enough as race car drivers, to be like, our job is pretty awesome. And it really comes down to just being able to work every day at being faster.
But you have had a pretty unique look behind the curtain at several organizations, right?
Yep.
So there was a moment where you were with Penske.
Yep.
And then they're like, well, there's maybe a pipeline situation. Can you explain this whole era of Parker's life?
Oh, the development area. So this is the craziest story. Back in 2008, I was racing USAC midgets in Indiana, and I went to the night before the Brickyard 400 race at ORP, which is a pretty big race in the midget world. And there was like 70 cars, and only 24 make the feature. And I was in the feature. I started like 15th, and of the 24 cars that made the feature, 20 or 22 drivers had development contracts with NASCAR Cup Series teams. It was a wild time. I was one of them, basically, with Dodge, which led to going to Penske at the end of that year. And the thing about that is, when you go to an organization like Penske, which is an incredibly, well-known organization, so much history, they've done and accomplished so much. When you're 18 years old, you are bound to do a little growing up in front of people.
Did it feel Willy Wonka golden ticket? Are you like, I've arrived, this is it?
Yeah, it felt a little bit like going to the Yankees, I would assume. But at the same token, it's one of those things where you've got to be, learn your craft. You've got to learn how to grow up, be a human, be an adult, and go to very adult meetings and situations and that sort of thing in a very fast and short amount of time. And I don't know if I did the best of balancing all that. And so eventually, kind of where it sort of fizzles out, and I think Joe Logano was similar at JGR. They see you grow up in front of them, and it sort of just changes the relationship from a professional relationship to more of like almost a family thing, right? And family and business can work, or it can be a really tough situation. And I think that's what you see a lot of the development driver era, and that's sort of now gone away a little bit because I don't think it works as well.
Right, and their pipeline was to like KBM at that time, wasn't it? Sort of like
no, that was Toyota.
Toyota
afterwards.
Yeah, after. So again, there you find yourself again, kind of in the mix. I feel like your name gets thrown in the hat every time they need a wheelman. It's like, what's Parker doing? Do you feel like you're kind of the on deck guy that gets the call?
Oh man, I don't know. The super sub sort of situation. That was Regan Smith forever. So I haven't.
Your name's always in there though.
It's nice. Yeah, well, I've been for years. That was one of the things that became very frustrating. Is whenever you talk to these teams, they would be like, "You're on the list," and I'd be like, "Okay, cool. Am I getting a meeting? No, not a meeting list. You're just on the list." I'm like, "Where am I on this list?" Because the figurative list here, I don't seem to ever be showing up high enough to get the meeting. But it's funny how this sport works. Sometimes you're on top. Sometimes you got to work your way back up there.
It is a humbling sport,
yes,
right?
Very much so.
And then when you're not a wheelman, you're actually on the TV explaining to everybody what's going on. That's got to be kind of interesting too, because you don't always have a say as a reporter in what you're covering and how it's working. Now you're talking to your competitors for all practical purposes, and like, how does that work? Because I'm sure you have feelings about certain races and moments, and now you got to interview these guys.
What's really funny is that, on the reporting side for the last couple of years, I felt close friends with some of these Xfinity Series drivers, and it was very apparent very quickly in the first month of this season that they were no longer viewing me as the TV guy, more as a competitor in that. And I took that as, I was like, well, I take that like positively, because that means they see us as a threat. Even so much as to go up to someone and be like, hey, what do you think about this? And he's like, I can't tell you that. I can't tell you what we're gonna do or what I'm doing there, because you could beat us. And I just thought that was very cool. So it's interesting. I think whenever I do the TV thing though, what I always strive for, and I don't know if any of you have noticed this, but I really try, and I don't even think try is the right word. It's more like I make a point of it to be as impartial as possible. And that is, even if you've been someone who's wrecked me, or I'm even literally in a tiff with at that point from a race, I'm gonna remove myself as a driver from that moment, and I'm gonna cover you in your situation as impartially as possible, because that's what you guys deserve from me on the TV, right? If I'm gonna go on there and I'm gonna talk about this sport and cover it and try and give you the best information possible, I can't have bias. Like, that doesn't work. I think that's something that people see so easily.
Yeah.
And so you've got to fight through that, and so I do my best. Even competing right now, and we'll see how well that goes later this year when NBC takes over and I have to do some cup races.
Wait, but are you going to be able to ever crawl out of the car and do the reporting job right after? That's what I want to see. I want to see you
I didn't punch someone in the face.
Come on, right?
This mic would be like,
can you imagine getting right out of the car, they hand you a mic, and now you go and do the after interview, right?
I would be probably a little, that would be too quick of a turnaround and turning off my racer brain.
Be sick.
Yeah,
Be sick.
I don't know if that would work that well.
Obviously, guys, we just joined in as Parker Kligerman is here. Now, the other thing that I think is hilarious is you've been around for a while. In the recent years, road course racing has kind of become the thing right now in NASCAR, right? Like,
yep.
We're adding all these road courses. Well, you are actually great at road courses. Do you feel like that's a special skill that has to be earned, or some guys they can just do it?
Oh, it's definitely something that, you look at the guys who are really good at it, have a road course background. It's always amazing to me when you have drivers like Zane Smith or Kyle Larson who just pick it up very easily and just show they're just incredibly talented. But then you have drivers like AJ Allmendinger, McDowell, I'd say put myself in there, of like guys who had a road course background, and so we can lean on that a little bit, right?
Sure.
And I mean, right now though, to be the top road course guy in this deal, you've got to beat AJ Allmendinger in an Xfinity Series race, and I didn't do that at COTA, but I could see him, and we had a restart where I got to run behind him. I'm like, okay, I know what to do here, but I think if you want to be the top level of road course racing in NASCAR right now, you got to find a way to beat AJ straight up, and I haven't done that yet.
So, like, yeah, it makes sense. This guy's like, yeah, I get it.
Yeah, hey. He's like, that guy's really good.
If I were you, I would spend time going to these go-karting places and smoking little kids. Like, can you do that to build your confidence?
That's what you do. Just go up and beat up on the little league style, and like a professional baseball player going out there and hitting home runs all day long. Like, awesome, dude, at the T-ball.
Guys, let's wish Parker Kligerman luck today.
Thank you very much. Thanks for coming out. Have a great day. Enjoy the weekend. Thank you so much for your support.